Hey everybody, welcome back to Top Guns here in Terre Haute, Indiana. This is Jan, and Alex here. Let's talk a little bit of history. If you haven't been watching our videos, definitely check those out. It's every Thursday, right around about the same time. This is a live program, so you can talk to us directly on here. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to do so and ask before we get started. So Jan, what are we going to talk about today?
Okay.
And tell us a little bit of history about it.
Okay, we're going to talk about the last wood and steel rifles that the U.S. military fielded. The one World War II era would be the M1 Garand. A little history on it. It came out in 1936, remained in production till 1956. The World War II guns were made by Springfield Armory, the government arsenal, and Winchester. The Korean War guns were made by the Springfield Arsenal, Harrington and Richards, and International Harvester.
Yes, so just remember, as everyone knows, I'm the dummy of the group, and I have heard before that, all these rare ones out there, all right? And what would be the rarest of the M14s or the M1 Garands?
Probably the International Harvester.
Okay, so the IH would be the one that everyone would kind of be sought after. That's the one that they would want in their collection. And
the Winchester and the HR, they're all about the same rarity. Money-wise, they're all about the same. Winchester probably more than any of them. The interesting thing about the International Harvester Grands, they were made at Evansville.
Really, I didn't know that.
If you ever been to Evansville, the old Whirlpool plant beside the airport.
A little history drop on you, Basil.
That's where they go. That's where they were
cool.
made.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's where they were made.
Why would an International Harvester ever get into the M14?
Well, they made the Grands.
Oh, the Grands, excuse me.
It was actually the government, Springfield and Harrington Richards was on the East Coast. This is during the 50s, the nuclear, and they wanted a plant that was not on the East Coast to build rifles if we were at a nuclear war with the Russians.
Really? And that's how IH got into the Grand market?
Yeah, well, yes, and Springfield Armory helped them.
Now, would this have been Springfield Armory parts and they were like, here you go?
No, they made a lot of their own parts. They never made their own barrels. A company in Wisconsin called LMR, they made replacement barrels, and they made them for International Harvester.
So guys, when you're looking at Grands, you'll want to see Winchester, you'll want to see definitely International Harvester, and you will want to see, what's the other one?
H&R.
H&R.
This one here happens to be a Harrington and Richards.
Cool. So Jan, you were talking about a little bit of, you want everybody to understand a couple things about these rifles.
Yes.
That other people might not other people that might not know about the maintenance and everything else that goes in it, and maybe some of the techniques that you have to use. It's not just the easiest gun to pick up and use.
Well, the other thing is too, we'll go with the M14 because they're very, very similar. And the M14 is the last full-size battle rifle the U.S. Army fielded. They're still in use in the Navy today, actually. They come out in 1957. The production run was relatively short. They quit making them in '63. They were made by the Springfield Armory, Harrington and Richards, TRW, and and Winchester.
And I was getting ready to stump Jan. It was going to be a day. But so these are all go fast guns. I'll just use that as the word. Yeah. And we'll look at that here on the side. And I don't really want to go into super detail because that's not necessarily what this video is.
It's about, no.
But let's talk about why did they go from a M1 Garand to the M14?
The first thing they did, an M1 Garand has and we'll go into here, this is a clip, this is a clip, this is an in-block clip, this is a stripper clip, and this is a magazine. Now people get that all confused. This is not a clip, this is a box magazine. An in-block clip becomes part of the rifle mechanism until it's empty and the gun ejects it. Grands are not the only one that uses in-block clips, but they only held 8 rounds. They wanted a rifle that had more capacity, and they wanted them select fire because they wanted to replace the M1 Garand and the BAR both.
Oh, okay. Which we talked about the BAR not too long ago. Check out that video.
Yeah. The only thing is they were very unsuccessful as an automatic. 95% of them, they took the selector off. This is the selector. And they put
I don't know, Basil, can you check out that selector? So I bet a lot of people have never seen it, an actual M14 with the selector on it.
But they took that off and they put what they call a connector lock in them so they wouldn't be capable of automatic weapons fire. Because if you
Because
shoot
it was
one,
just simply uncontrollable.
it's uncontrollable. The rate of fire is about 900 rounds a minute, and after the first shot from the shoulder, you was shooting at the sun, moon, and stars.
Right. So how many rounds would, and you just kind of, to add on what you were saying, how many rounds would you have shot through it at one time to say it was controllable? You think 2 rounds?
Well,
3 rounds?
after the first, no, not even that. After the first round, the second one probably that much higher.
Oh,
they
my
climb
goodness.
that bad.
Okay.
They're terrible. Now the civilian version of this is called an M1A.
Which you can buy.
You can
anywhere,
buy, and you guys
including
stalk
here.
them.
Right.
Yeah, you stalk them. And if you look at them, they look exactly like this. And some of the first M1As had mostly GI parts. It would not have this, and it wouldn't have this here. This is called the connector link. That's actually part that makes it full auto, but they wouldn't have that. And they wouldn't have the cutout in the stock. But other than that, they look just like it. And they are very similar. All the parts, internal parts in this, other than the full automatic parts, will interchange with an M1A.
And I like the history part, so I want to back up a little bit, Jan. So when did we transfer, and you might have said this earlier, from what would have been before the Garand?
The 1903 Springfield bolt action rifle.
Okay, so it would have been a bolt action rifle, and then they went straight into the Garand.
Went straight into.
Once they said no more Garand, they wanted something. Why did they get away from the Garand again?
Is they wanted more magazine capacity because
Because they can use a box mag instead of a clip.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they had 20 round box magazine instead of the clip.
So we went from 8 rounds of 30-06
to
20
rounds of 7.62 NATO.
Right. So we
And
went
I'll get
from,
into that later because 7.62 NATO and 308 are not the same.
correct, and that is a great idea to talk about that. So
And we'll start with the Garand.
right. So the Garand. Then they were saying, okay, I want more capacity. Let's go into the box mag
Magazine.
version, which is the M14.
Right.
All
And,
right.
and if you look at them, they're very similar. But we'll start with the Garand. This is a Garand clip. And
Let me
now-
get this off the table, and then we can.
Yeah, we can get over here. Okay. This is a Garand clip. Now these are supposed to be, you can load them either way. You can start out, you want the last round to strip out of the right side of the rifle and the first round to strip out of the left side. Now you can start out, this would be strip out of the right side, but you can reverse them. And they can work, but it's better this way. The first Garands, they had issues with them. If they loaded them, they'd strip the last round out of the left side. They would jam. The 7th round would hit up the front of the receiver, and sometimes on the end of if they didn't do that, the 7th round, they'd eject the 8th round and the clip out of the rifle. Now they cured that problem later on, but it never hurts to do anything. If you find any USGI military 30-06 on Garand clips as issued, they would be loaded.
So just so everybody knows before we get started, because the safety police
Yes.
will be after us, okay?
Yes,
I want
yeah,
everybody to
definitely.
see this.
Every
These-
one of these are dummy rounds.
These are all dummy rounds, guys. These are all. So these are just for showing you guys this in this video.
These are function test dummies, and this is another safety thing. We'll talk in there. If you're ever function testing any of these rifles, never use live ammunition.
Absolutely not.
Like I say, these have no primers, they have no powder, so there's no possible way they could ever hurt it.
Again, this is for demonstration purposes only, but when we show you the next step, we will be going
Going to the
towards the
right.
concrete behind us just for safety.
Yeah, but anyway, like I say, this is what it should look like. If you look at the back of it, well, if you look from the front, this would how it would be in the rifle. This would be the left side, that would be the right. Because when you go right or left on the rifle, it's like you got it to your shoulder.
You got it.
So you want it to strip the first round off the left side. Now if you look at an M14 mag, of course another dummy round, if you'll notice,
That's on the right side.
it strips the last round out of the right side of the magazine, just like a Garand would out of the clip. 'Cause
Oh, okay, because it starts on that right side. So, guys, again,
Yeah.
for dummy me, I like to say things twice, and I apologize. But on the right side, it starts here, and on the left side, it ends here, and that's the proper way to load your Garand.
So you're like your Garand clip. Now we'll get back here, and so you take your clip, hold on to it like this. Start in here, put that in there, and you take the heel of your hand, you shove it in, take your thumb out, and go like that, and then it won't get your thumb. Now, if you want to unload the rifle, pull this back, take your thumb, hit the clip latch, and I got the ram jammed in there, and the clip. There we go, and the clip falls out.
All right, and can I go over there real quick? And this is going to be hard. I apologize. I'm going to actually go this way, Basil.
Okay.
All right. Teach me. All right. So if I'm looking at a clip like this, and here, I'll let you have that back one more time.
Go ahead.
And if I was to load this, how would I do this? This is my bottom. This is my top.
It don't matter. You can put it in either way, upside. Just slip it in the top like you would a mag and just push it down. It'll latch in.
Copy that.
It's hard, but it will.
So everybody kind of sees it.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. All right. You're going to watch me bust my thumb.
Yes,
All right.
can't wait.
All right, Jan, tell me, teach me.
Okay. Take this hand here. Take the heel of your hand. Hold back. No. Take like that.
Oh, okay.
Drop that
See
in.
that?
Take your thumb and this thumb. And shove down with this thumb. This hand here, hold on the rifle.
Okay.
Now just shove it down with, put your thumb straight down on the top.
Okay.
And hold the op rod back or it'll bite you.
Damn, it's going to hurt, isn't it?
It does too.
All right, hold on. There we go.
Now push down hard. There it latch.
All right, got it.
Now
Just let go.
this one will not go shut. The timing's off. It normally would go shut, but take your hand off. Just take the heel of your hand and it'll load. Just pop up. There you go.
I was excited about that. All right, so to take the
Magazine
take the
out.
magazine out.
Okay. Take your heel of your hand back here again. Put your heel of your hand back here. Now pull back, all the way back. That round come out. Take your thumb over the top, and this is a clip latch.
Okay, so
Push
guys,
that in the mag,
after I'm done, I will show you the clip latch portion.
and the clip will pop out just like that.
It legit springs out.
Yeah.
That's impressive. All right, so what he was telling me about the latch, it's right here, guys. That's that latch, and there is a spring right here, and it is shoving that back right towards you. All right? Education. The more you know. All right.
And that's something you have to do with them.
So let's talk about this for a minute about in service. All right?
If you practice that, actually, you can. If you practice, you can actually reload a Garand quicker than you change magazines in an M14, because you do not have to take a magazine out. It takes practice,
Right.
A lot of practice, but you can. They load really quick if you know how. And I'm out of practice myself.
Sure. I mean, I don't expect you to be doing that every day. All right, so if somebody was in the field, would they be preloading this stuff?
These would come in an ammo can and a bandolier.
Ready to go?
Ready to go. And the clips are throwaway. They didn't worry about the clip.
So they went ching and let it roll.
Yeah.
I'm going to screw this up because I shouldn't have said this on the video, but there's like a phrase, a saying, something to do with that sound. I can't think of it. I'm such an idiot. If you guys can think about it,
Well,
let me know.
They make. Here, we'll make the sound.
What is it? I can't think of it. I'm such an idiot.
I can't remember what they call it, but we'll make it.
I'm telling you, there's a phrase, something to do with that ding, and I cannot think it for the word of me. Don't hurt yourself, John.
Now you want to listen closely.
That
There you
sound.
go.
I'm telling you. But wasn't there something to do with like brain fart? This sucks. All right, but nonetheless, Jan, let's get back on it. All right. So we're
Okay.
talking right now, guys. If you're just joining us, about the M1 Garand, and then we will talk about a little bit about function and maintenance of it. Some specialty items that a lot of people don't know. If you pick up some surplus stuff or something for the first time, he's going to give you some helpful tips also.
Also, there's one thing you never do with an M1 Garand or an M14, either one. You put a round in the chamber. Say you don't want to use the clip. You put a round in the chamber like
Hold on,
this.
Jan. Show him over here.
You put a round in the chamber. There's no clip in it. You push down like this. You never drop the bolt like that because they'll slam fire. An M14's the same way because they have a floating firing pin.
Now, is it
So-
that if somebody picked up a brand new Springfield today, it's the same concept?
Same concept.
Okay.
An M1A would be the same way. Or
So
an
if you picked up a
M14.
new Springfield M1A, a little safety advice, don't do that.
So what you would do is you would let the bolt go about halfway forward and then let it go. And if it doesn't quite snap over, take the heel of your hand, pull it out.
Got that.
And drop the
Just leave those
cartridge.
down.
What you were referring to, Alex, was someone said that Germans would wait for the ping so they knew the Americans.
But that's always BS. They say that never happened. That's a war story they always talk
It's true, and I've heard that story before, and I thank you for commenting on that. But there is something in there that when you hear that ding, it's a phrase that people use, and I cannot think of it for the life of me.
From the clip would kill the most men.
All right, next, Jen, about the M1 Garand.
And this applies to the M14. Now, the sights on these rifles have to be calibrated.
Got that busy.
Okay, if you look right here, there'll be witness marks here and here. So what you do is, when you first sight in your rifle, you line up the witness marks here. You get in the very center, and then you adjust your windage with the front sight. You loosen the Allen screw and move the front sight. And the idea of that is, if you're putting windage in your rifle, taking it in and out, you can get lost. You forget how many clicks you put in. So if you got it sighted in with the front sight, you just always recenter your rear sight, and you got your 0.
So Jan. All right, then you're talking to the dummy. All right, talk to me about this, Bubba. So this is, what did you call this line here in the middle?
Well, it's an index mark.
Okay.
And there's on the receiver too.
There, if you guys can't see this, because I know it's going to be hard, right here there are little hash marks.
And you center that, and then you get your mechanical 0 with your, loosen this Allen screw, and you move your front sight back and forth to get your 0.
Here, I'll screw that up a little bit so I can
Instead of
see
moving your
the
rear
Allen
sight
is
to
right
0,
there on
let
the
you move
very
the
end.
front sight.
All right, there you go, buddy.
And you do this. It's the same thing with the rear sight. Is if you look, there'll be numbers on here, and it'll be how many yards it is up in this, and you set it on 100 yards. Well, you get
Would
100.
that be, I was going to ask you that next. Is it, you would set it in at 100 yards?
You would sight it in 100 yards, and then you would loosen this screw here, and you'd move the knob where the hash mark was on.
All right, so when you guys see that, this is the where you loosen that up.
Right here.
And that would give you your...
That would loosen this up, and you can move this, and then you would
Freely
set it on
move it.
Freely move
Yeah.
it. Then you put it on 100 yards. And
That might be a good video alone later if we can go in the range and just show people a little bit more about that adjustment.
And it actually works with the right GI ball ammunition in these. If you set it at 300 yards, it'll be really, really close. And now,
Oh, wow, I'll just grab this.
an M14, we'll get it handed back up here.
Yes, sir.
The rear sight on an M14 and a Garand are, we'll step over, are basically identical. The only difference is the rear sight. These hash marks are in meters instead of yards.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
And now, if you,
It has different little hash marks too.
Yeah.
Right here.
but it's the same thing. Most of all the parts will interchange between the rear sight of a Garand and an M14. Like say this knob is different, it's just marked in meters. Now, if you look, this sight has a hood on the rear sight. This is a national match sight. This is a GI issue sight on the Garand. Here, I'll hold them up where you can see them side by side. And you see this is hooded. Now, the sights on this, each click on the sight is a full minute angle.
Okay.
On a national match sight, it's half-minute angle, and the threads are a little finer. But
Right,
the
they
sights,
have a finer,
finer
you're
thread.
tuning it in, yes,
yeah,
yes.
the threads are finer, so each click on this would be a half-minute, this would be a full minute.
Yeah, because this would be more of a precision rifle. This would be more of a, I hate to say this, like a war rifle, you know, like a
Well,
battle
no,
rifle.
actually, most M14s had the same sight as Garand. The national match rifles and the sniper rifles would have had this style sight.
Would there
Normally
ever
would have
would there
been-
ever been a Garand with
Oh
this
yes,
sight?
oh yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the national match sight was on Grands and M14s both.
Okay.
Not to interrupt, I don't know if you're going to get to it, but we had someone ask if there was where would be the best place to buy an M1 Garand for less than $1,000?
Where would be the best place to buy an M1 Garand for under $1,000?
The best place to buy an M1 Garand is
If Tacos doesn't have one stock.
go to thecmp.org. You can buy one off the government. They got all grades, all kinds, collector, and I don't know what the cheapest one, and I think about $800 all the way up to $3,000 or $4,000,
Holy cow.
depending on their collector grades.
Is it
are on.
actually a government?
It's a government entity. Matter of fact, that's where this one come from.
And can you say the website one more time?
thecmp.org. It's a website, and
Good to know. I didn't know that.
there is requirements you have to do to buy one, but that's where most of the Grands actually come from. And if you get one from the CMP, you got to remember every Grand is at least 60, 65 years old, some of them 70 or 80. And they go through and check them out, make sure they're safe to use.
And I don't know if we talked about this. Now, we know that this one has a fun switch on it. This one does not. Okay. Would there have been a time where this would have?
No.
This
Now,
would have never had.
not a U.S. one. Now, the Italians took
So just so everybody knows the question before you answer, and I apologize. This is the Grand. I was asking if there was ever a period where that would have been full auto.
No, not in the U.S. military. However, the Italians took M1 Grands and they modified them to take a box magazine, U.S. M1 Grands, and they made a few selective fire.
Would that have been?
That'd be a BM-59 is what the Italians.
But what would the time period have been on the same time?
Right
period?
after World War II.
Okay, so this would have been right about
About the
coming
time-
out about the same
Before
time.
these, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They didn't get the idea from that, did they?
They did not for these. No,
Okay.
actually, John Grand had a lot to do with this as they did this. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is ammunition. M1 Grands are very, very particular on ammunition. The original ammunition was M1 ball. It was a 150 grain bullet. The later was M2 ball, was a 172 grain bullet. During World War II, they used mostly AP, which was 168 grain. So Grands, you don't want to shoot any bullet any lighter than 150 grain and a bullet any heavier than 175.
Tell me why.
What happens is the Grand, if you look here, this is the op rod.
Show him real quick so they can see it.
This right here, this tube, this is the op rod. This is rod, this is the other end of it. It moves the bolt back and forth. Well, this rod goes from here to here. It's really long, there's no support, it's just a piston in here. And if you look at one out of a rifle, they got about a half a dozen kinks, looks like a dog leg. They're supposed to be. What'll happen is if you get a round that has too high of a port pressure, just like an AR-15, you can get too high of overgas them. If you use a heavy bullet with slow burning powder, it puts too much port pressure, even though the chamber pressure will be right, and it'll slam the rifle so hard it'll bend the op rod and they won't function. So.
Okay, now we've seen one that just absolutely went crazy, and I don't want to spend too much time on that, but what would make a catastrophic failure?
Usually a cartridge failure, case head failure. Usually head separation doesn't bother them too much, but a lot of times you have a case head failure. And a case head failure is the case will actually rupture out through the primer pocket.
The back side of it,
Yeah.
right?
And it puts so much gas in. Now, Grands are actually quite safe for the user. The whole back of the receiver's covered, and most of the gas will blow out the side.
Okay.
Usually splinters the stock, but actually very seldom hurts the rifle.
So I want to go back just to review myself. I apologize. Good? Okay.
Yeah, I got
so,
the drink here.
All right, 150 grain is what you would probably recommend that most
The
people use.
168 match ammo is really good.
So 150 or 168 grain match ammo and the 168 grain, but make sure you're buying good quality ammunition for your Grands. Don't just go out and buy one somewhere and put 30-06 through it. It might not work too well for you. Okay, make sure you're buying 30-06 Garand ammo.
Winchester makes it. Hornady makes it.
There's a bunch of different companies
That make regular ammunition for M1.
Now, not to dog anybody, but the catastrophic failure that we saw here was from a company called PPU.
Yeah,
okay?
Party Partisan.
Okay, that is, they had a rifle. It was a Garand, and it splintered the whole thing. I mean, it just destroyed it. So just be careful with what you're buying, and make sure that if you're spending $1,000 or $800 or whatever on a gun, put the right amount of ammo into it, or right amount of quality of ammo into it.
And someone asked, what if you were to use one for hunting? Would there be any modifications that would need to be made to it?
Well, most hunting rifles can't have over a 5-round magazine. However, they do make 5-round clips for Grands. They make 2-round clips for Grands.
Really?
Yeah,
I've never seen a 2-round clip.
They use them for high power. That's where.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And in a high
When he
power,
says high power, it'd be like a
NRA National Match Course, Camp Perry.
Exactly. So you're distance at these guys, you know.
And what they would do is they had 10-round strings, and they had a clip that held 2 rounds, and you'd shoot 2, then reload with the 8.
Gotcha.
So anyway, and that's about all I got to say about the Garand. Now we'll talk a little more about the M14. Calibrating the sights would be the same. We discussed that earlier. The other thing is now M14s have got a lot better gas system. The gas system is a lot more improved in a Garand. Your op rod works the same, cams bolt in and out. The Garands, this was...
Can you show everybody what the op rod is real quick?
I got my thumb on it. That's
Okay.
the op rod.
All right. So guys, it's this piece here.
If you look here, the Garand's the same way. You look here, you see it turns the bolt into battery, and when it comes back, it cams the bolt out of battery.
All right, so bring it forward. Here's where you need to be paying attention, all right?
There's the cam there.
There's the cam. Okay, sorry about that. We don't really know what happened. So we just got done finished talking about the op rod, and then right in here, Jan was explaining.
This is the op rod down here. You can see it in there, it's round. Now the op rod on a
So
M14,
it comes all the way down here, guys, and then bends into this, and then goes all the way down. And I'm assuming that's what runs inside.
actually
of
the
this.
piston is separate from the op rod. The
Okay.
piston actually hits the op
So
rod.
where does it? How far does it go up, on average?
Oh, right about to there.
All right, so it will bring it up to here when the gas then will
Yeah.
push it back, and that's what functions.
And the op rod is a lot shorter, and it's a lot bigger diameter than one in a munition is a Garand is.
Right.
If they get enough gas to operate, now you can overpressure them, same as anything else.
Anything we need to cover before we move on?
No, we almost lost. I think we lost connection again there for a second. Someone asked if modern 30-06 is okay in a 1903.
Yes, you can use about any 30-06 in an 03, unless it's a low number 03. They had trouble with the heat treat during World
Check
War
your
I.
serial number.
Yeah, check your serial number. Offhand, I think the Rock Islands are 250,000. I think the Springfields are 800,000. If serial numbers, that's close. But
Okay.
you want to check serial number, and there's people know about that. You do not want to shoot a low number Springfield at all, because the receivers are hard and brittle, and if they come apart, it's really ugly, and that can happen.
This is something I always wanted to know. Springfield can't tell me. Reps can't tell me. Why is that plastic? Out of all freaking things on this gun, why is the actual cover on top of
The original ones were wood. Probably
blows my
weight.
mind. If everybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, this is not a new thing. This isn't. You're still gonna see it on your new ones, but for some reason this is plastic. And it's always drove me nuts. Why can't
Probably
that be a
lot.
metal shield?
Well, metal would transfer heat. Plastic wouldn't. The original ones were wood, but they caught on fire.
And wouldn't this melt?
No, they don't melt. I don't know what they're made out of. They got actually a fiberglass lining on the inside.
Oh, that might make more sense.
Yeah.
All right, sorry to get off topic again, but that if you know anything about us here at Top Guns, that's what we do.
And the last thing we'll talk about here, I need one of these. This is the stripper clip, and of course it's an M14 mag. And you think, well, why do you have a stripper clip for a magazine rifle? Well, this come with a bandolier. This goes on the magazine, and then you can strip your cartridges in the magazine, load it a whole lot faster.
All right. Now, time to start learning something today. This should be just, hey, teach dummy Alex how to do things right. All right, we got a little cutout here.
That actually holds it in.
That's what holds your magazine in, all right? Or it holds this in. So this is going, you have a little notch. You see those little notches? That's going to slide over the top. That really wasn't as bad as I made it seem. All right. Does this matter which way?
No, it doesn't matter.
So they're both the same way, which is phenomenal. Goes right in the groove. Straight down. Can I push them down?
Yeah, you can strip them, and they go in the mag, and then you have to take them out. Also, now this one,
Hold on. I push this in?
no, you put your thumb here.
Oh, so I hit these.
Yeah.
That was
dummy
way easier. Because
Dummy
I
Alex.
had it imagined in my head that this was going to slide through and I was going to be done, okay? But I'm an idiot, just like everyone knows. All right, so
Now the other thing
that was
is,
way easier.
well, also, now this rifle doesn't have it. This is set up for a 2-lug scope mount. This scope mount goes here, and another lug goes here. Normally,
And you can buy those for new rifles.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And this is set up as an M21 sniper rifle. I have a military ART scope for this. But normal, you get an M1A, it'll have a stripper clip guide here, and you use that stripper clip and reload the magazines in the rifle.
So slow down.
Oh, that's cool.
Hold on. What did you say? Tell me what he said. What?
If you go get an M1A off the rack, it'll have a guide here. The stripper clip will fit in, and you can load
Oh, I've
them.
seen that. I wonder what that was.
Yeah, that's
All right. I'm
you
sorry.
have to get an
John,
M1A.
run down there and grab me an M1A, please.
Don't matter.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Get a long one.
See, I got this now, and I never knew what that was.
Yeah, that's what that is. I'll take the cartridge.
I hope people are following along. There's just so much information.
Why he is getting a rifle, we'll get an M1A. An M1A beside this, you can see the difference. That'll be a new one out of stock there. Okay. I will go into this before we get into that. Or you're here with it.
All right, look, check this out.
Okay, give me that.
Everybody, what he was trying to explain is, go down here, Basil. Hold this one up for me, Jen.
Yeah.
If you look at the top, this is a brand new one, new production, get it off the shelf. He's talking about this little, you got that, Basil? He's talking about that right there. And I've never understood what the heck it was. Well, it's brand new,
Now take the mag out, and that you can reload them.
House of Learning Doctors, that's all I'm telling you. That's awesome, man.
That's pretty cool.
I had no clue about that the whole
Yeah,
time.
you can reload them in the rifle.
So why didn't they do that there?
This has a scope mount on it.
But would the standard ones have had it?
All of them did.
Okay, see the part that I didn't get there?
Yeah,
I
all
thought
of
this was
them.
the
All of
newfangled
them.
thing.
All the military ones had this one. And right after Vietnam, they used these as sniper rifles, and they come out with what they called an ART scope. And originally, they only had one screw that held a mount on here on the side of the rifle, and it wasn't very stable. So they changed. They took off the clip guide, as they call it, and they put a block on it for the scope. That's why this one doesn't actually have one.
Always learn to know that. Yeah, I know. The more you know.
And one last thing I do want to say. That rifle there and this one, they are the same. That rifle there has a commercial barrel on it. That rifle will be in .308 Winchester. This has a GI barrel and will be 7.62 NATO. They are not the same. Now the difference between .308 and 7.62.
All right, hold on. Let's put a disclaimer on this. Ready? This is where you start paying attention, because I've always wanted to know this, and I've heard so many different people say different things. This is time to learn. Ready? Go, Jan.
Okay. The difference between 7.62 NATO and .308 is 5 thousandths difference in the head space. The head space in 7.62 NATO is 5 thousandths longer than .308. They actually overlap. Maximum head space in a .308 is about the same as minimum head space in 7.62 NATO. Now you could shoot.
Dumb that up for me. Dumb this up. And when he's talking about headspace, you were talking about
how loose the cartridge fits in the chamber. That's the easiest way to put it.
okay.
And generally, you need about 2 thousandths head space to make them work.
And we're talking about.
But anyway,
very
maximum
close.
head space is generally about 7-8 thousandths. You don't want any longer there. What happens if the head space is too long? The cartridge will split right in here.
Is it because it's not seated far enough forward?
No, the case will actually stretch and it'll blow out, because the neck will swell up first here, then the case will stretch back. Now, generally, you can shoot .308 in a 7.62 NATO, and they won't have a ruptured case unless the headspace is on the maximum 7.62 NATO.
How do you fix
But the
that?
brass is not never any good.
Look, dumb this up for me one time. 308, 7.62 NATO. The major difference is
The headspace.
the headspace. So why can't I get 308 and throw that in there? It's because the headspace,
It'll be too loose.
the tolerance of the headspace, if you use
Will be too wide.
308, is too wide. So this is wider than a
Right.
308.
This has more slop in it.
All
you
right,
could
so
say.
everybody got that? Wider. It's going to
Longer.
jiggle around.
The chamber's deeper, basically.
Dog in a hallway.
Hot dog hallway. Longer, so it's longer this way, and it's a
The same
smidge-
diameter.
same diameter. So the round is correct. The length is
Actually, the length would be, I'll explain it real easy. The head space is measured from the base of the cartridge to about halfway up on the shoulder.
okay,
That's how they call it a datum point, but you
Okay.
got gauges for all that.
right. All right, so it would be
The 7.62 NATO is longer. The chamber's 5 thousandths longer. That's what it
7.62
amounts.
NATO is 5 thousandths longer.
And that's something you need to be careful. This is a commercial M1A. It is in most, I think all of the Springfield armories are 308.
Can I ask you
Yeah.
this? Can I ask you this? And I know we gotta go. So, can I put 7.62 NATO in that?
It probably will work. If it'll chamber it, it'll work.
And we're worried that it won't work because it's longer.
It'll be too tight and you'll lock up the bolt. And you won't be able to get the bolt open. And one more thing, and this works for Grand too, and this will make you cry when you see somebody do it, first time you do it. Let's say you got the bolt stuck. You can't get the bolt open. You got a round stuck in it. How do you clear them? You hold it out, make sure the barrel ain't away from you. You do that.
Oh,
Why does he do that to such an expensive gun?
oh,
A full auto M14, he just kicks
Oh,
it. Okay, so
That's how you, and a Grand the same way. Now, you know, you think about that and you think, oh my God, that's terrible.
I don't want to
When I
point it
first-
up in the air towards me.
The first time I seen that done, it was my rifle. I had a stuck case in it. This guy was a lifer Marine. He was a sniper in Korea. And I was trying everything to get the bolt open. I couldn't get over, and he says, "Son, give me that weapon." He holds out the
Kinda how this
side, and
conversation goes.
whap, and out comes the cartridge, and I go, "Gee, yeah."
If Jan and I are on the range, that's exactly how he would talk to me. Son, come here. Listen, dummy. Listen, dummy. Get over here. So, guys, thank you again for watching a little bit of history with Jan and Alex. And I can't retain half of what Jan tells me, so I
you can go
apologize.
back and watch this
But you
again.
can go back and watch all of our previous videos. Please do so. Please comment on those. Make sure you're liking us, sharing all this crap if you can do that. I don't know about how much you can do that. I'm so used to doing Facebook videos.
Oh,
But,
one more comment. One more comment.
bonus.
bonus footage.
Bonus comment. I personally think anybody that knows me, I don't like AR-15s. They're not a bad rifle. These are better. They're more reliable. 308, more powerful cartridge. And everybody ought to have an M1A, and you guys have them in stock. And
Shameless plug. I
I've
like
got-
my man.
yeah, I've
I
been-
like my man.
I'm done now. I'll
Good
shut
job,
up.
Jan. Good job, buddy. All right, guys. Again, thank you so much for watching. Later, we're going to do another video. You just missed a whole video, Steve. You can't really hear us because we have these sweet mics on now, but listen up.
Yep.
He told us the difference between, this is bonus footage, you guys can get off now, but bonus about the difference between 7.62 and 308.
Oh, really? 7.62 and 308.
Yeah, they are different.
7.62
And I gotta go
and
shoot.
308.
All right.
He can tell you the difference and make sense. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you want to know that answer, watch earlier in the video. See ya.